You work hard, yet people still test you. They disrespect your time, doubt your words, and quietly hope you fail. Motivation fades, discipline breaks, and power slips away. The real problem is not laziness, it is inconsistency. Look closely at how power truly moves in the world. It does not shout. It does not beg for attention. It does not explain itself. Real authority enters the room before words are spoken, and that authority is born from discipline, not the loud discipline of public declarations, but the quiet discipline that repeats itself every day without witnesses. When your actions are predictable in commitment yet unpredictable in tolerance, people begin to feel something they cannot define. They feel pressure. They feel restraint. They feel the invisible weight of your presence. Most people believe respect is demanded through dominance, volume, or confrontation. Machiavelli knew better. He understood that the ruler who speaks less and acts more forces others to observe, to interpret, and to adjust. Discipline operates in the same manner. When you do what you said you would do without reminders, without emotional displays, without visible effort, you silently train others on how to treat you. They stop testing boundaries because your routine already enforces them. Think about this carefully. The man who is always on time never needs to remind others of his value. The man who completes his work without complaint never needs to announce his worth. Discipline becomes a language more powerful than persuasion. Every repeated action becomes a law, and people unconsciously submit to it. This is why discipline creates authority without confrontation. It removes negotiation from the equation. In the Machiavellian sense, authority is strongest when it appears effortless. When people believe you are simply this way, they stop hoping you will change. Your discipline must be so consistent that it no longer appears as effort, but as identity. This is where fear begins to form, not the fear of violence, but the fear of irrelevance. People fear being the variable in a system that never bends. Notice how undisciplined people behave. They explain themselves excessively. They promise and delay. They show emotion when challenged. This invites doubt. This invites testing. Discipline, when practiced correctly, does the opposite. It removes emotional leakage. It removes visible struggle. You do not announce your standards, you enforce them through repetition. Over time, people stop asking why, because your behavior already answered the question. Machiavelli warned rulers against appearing inconsistent. Consistency breeds predictability, and predictability breeds trust or fear depending on how it is used. Your discipline should be predictable in execution but unpredictable in tolerance. You do not always need to punish. You do not always need to reward. What matters is that your actions are not influenced by pressure, mood, or opinion. This unsettles observers. They cannot manipulate what they cannot read. Silent authority is built when others realize you do not need them to validate your choices. You wake up early whether anyone notices or not. You train whether applause exists or not. You progress even when no reward is immediate. This sends a powerful signal. It tells the world that your engine runs internally, not externally. That realization alone reshapes how people approach you. In every court, in every empire, the most dangerous figure was not the loud warrior, but the disciplined strategist who never broke routine. When people see that your discipline does not collapse under fatigue, boredom, or temptation, they stop expecting access to you. They stop assuming availability. Your time becomes structured, protected, and respected by default. This is why discipline must be ruthless with yourself and calm toward others. You do not need to dominate conversations. Your consistency dominates outcomes. You do not need to correct people publicly. Your example corrects them privately. Over time, your presence changes the behavior of those around you without you ever issuing a command. Silent authority is not created in moments of confrontation. It is created in the hours. No one sees. Every disciplined action is a quiet declaration of independence. Independence from chaos. Independence from impulse. Independence from approval. When people realize that you are governed by principle rather than emotion, they sense power even if they cannot explain why. This is the kind of discipline that scares people, not because it threatens them directly, but because it exposes their lack of control. Your calm routine becomes a mirror, and many do not like what they see reflected back at them. Understand this before anything else. Whoever controls emotion controls direction. In every struggle for power, the first defeat is always internal. Machiavelli observed that men are rarely destroyed by enemies, they are undone by their own reactions. Emotional discipline is not about suppressing feeling, it is about refusing to let feeling dictate action. When you master this, you gain an advantage so subtle, yet so overwhelming, that others never realize when they have already lost. Most people live at the mercy of their impulses. Anger makes them speak too quickly. Desire makes them compromise standards. Fear makes them retreat before the battle begins. Every emotional reaction leaks information. It tells others where you are weak, where you are desperate, and where you can be provoked. The disciplined mind reveals nothing. It becomes unreadable, and what cannot be read cannot be manipulated. Machiavelli understood that rulers who reacted emotionally were easily controlled by their enemies. An insult would provoke retaliation. Praise would soften resolve. Threats would accelerate mistakes. The disciplined ruler, however, remained still while others burned. Emotional control transforms you into a strategist rather than a participant. You are no longer inside the storm. You are above it, watching patterns form while others drown in noise. When you do not react, people grow uneasy. They expect resistance, justification, or explanation. Silence forces them to fill the space with their own assumptions. This is where power shifts. Emotional restraint denies others the satisfaction of control. It denies them feedback. Over time, they stop testing you because the outcome never changes. Your calm becomes a wall they cannot climb. Consider how often people try to provoke emotion to gain leverage. They criticize to trigger insecurity. They rush you to force mistakes. They dramatize situations to pull you into chaos. Emotional discipline rejects all of this without confrontation. You do not need to defend yourself when you know who you are. You do not need to rush when you control your time. You do not need to argue when outcomes already favor you. This is not passivity, it is precision. Machiavelli never advised rulers to be kind or cruel blindly. He advised control. Emotional control allows you to choose the correct response, not the satisfying one. Sometimes silence is stronger than words. Sometimes delay is stronger than action. Sometimes calm refusal is stronger than aggression. The undisciplined mistake restraint for weakness until they realize too late that restraint was strategy. People governed by emotion are predictable. Predictability is exploitable. If anger always leads you to react, someone will anger you deliberately. If fear always leads you to retreat, someone will threaten you strategically. Emotional discipline breaks this pattern. Your responses no longer follow expectations. This uncertainty unsettles people more than confrontation ever could. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must appear calm even in danger. Panic spreads faster than fire. When you remain composed under pressure, you become a stabilizing force. Others look to you for direction, even if you never claim leadership. Calm authority emerges naturally when everyone else is ruled by emotion. Your steadiness becomes an anchor in chaos. Emotional control also protects your energy. Every reaction costs something. Anger drains focus. Anxiety drains clarity. Obsession drains judgment. Discipline preserves your mental resources for decisions that matter. You choose where to invest attention. You choose when to engage. This selective engagement multiplies your effectiveness. Over time, people begin to sense that emotional tactics fail against you. Their words no longer move you. Their urgency no longer pressures you. Their approval no longer influences you. This creates psychological distance. Distance creates respect. Respect creates influence. Without ever demanding power, you begin to hold it. The disciplined individual does not eliminate emotion. He weaponizes restraint. He understands that every unreacted insult is a victory, every delayed response is leverage, and every calm decision under pressure compounds authority. This is how emotional control becomes strategic superiority, not through force, but through mastery of self. History does not remember the most gifted, it remembers the most relentless. Talent flashes brightly and disappears just as fast, but consistency grinds forward like time itself. Machiavelli understood that fortune favors those who remain standing long after others have exhausted themselves. In the struggle for dominance, endurance is power. The disciplined individual does not rely on bursts of inspiration, he relies on repetition. And repetition, when sustained, becomes unstoppable. Most people mistake excitement for progress. They begin loudly, announce intentions and gather attention. Then resistance appears, boredom sets in, praise fades. This is where talent without discipline collapses. Consistency is less glamorous, less visible, and far more threatening. It does not need applause. It advances quietly while others seek validation. When people realize you are still moving long after their enthusiasm has died, they begin to feel unease. Machiavelli warned against depending on fortune or favor. What is given can be taken. What is built daily becomes difficult to destroy. Consistency transforms small actions into unbreakable structures. One day of effort means nothing. 1,000 days changes reputation, identity, and position. When your behavior remains unchanged regardless of mood, environment, or recognition, you signal something dangerous to observers. You signal permanence. Noise dominates modern life. Opinions shift daily. Trends rise and collapse overnight. People are distracted, divided, and reactive. Consistency cuts through this chaos without competing with it. While others debate, you execute. While others adapt their identity to fit the moment, you reinforce yours through action. Over time, people stop comparing themselves to you. They start measuring themselves against you. Talent attracts opportunity, but consistency controls outcome. The talented individual waits for the right conditions. The disciplined one creates them. Machiavelli would recognize this as mastery over fortune. You do not ask whether you feel ready. You act, because action is your nature. This terrifies those who rely on motivation, because motivation is unstable and visible. Consistency is invisible and relentless. When you show up every day, people begin to expect results. Expectations create pressure, but they also create authority. Others start planning around your reliability. They adjust timelines, decisions, and strategies because your presence is guaranteed. Reliability is a form of power that does not announce itself. It forces accommodation rather than admiration. Consistency also outlasts criticism. When your behavior does not change after judgment, mockery loses its effect. People grow tired of attacking what refuses to respond. Machiavelli noted that persistence disarms opposition. Enemies rely on reaction. When reaction never comes, they lose interest or respect. Your silence, paired with continued action, becomes a statement more powerful than defense. This kind of discipline requires acceptance of loneliness. Consistency often means moving without company. Most people cannot maintain the same path for long. When you do, separation occurs naturally. You are no longer part of the crowd because the crowd changes direction too often. This isolation is not punishment, it is confirmation. Over time, results accumulate, not in dramatic leaps, but in undeniable patterns. Patterns are difficult to argue with. When others finally notice your position, they assume you were always ahead. They do not see the quiet days, the repetitive labor, the monotony. They only see inevitability. This is how consistency reshapes perception. Machiavelli believed that power must be maintained, not obtained. Consistency is maintenance. It keeps skills sharp, standards high, and identity intact. When others rise and fall, you remain. When trends shift, you continue. Stability in a chaotic world becomes dominance. The disciplined individual does not chase recognition. He allows time to speak on his behalf. While talent dazzles and noise die. Distracts. Consistency advances with patience. It outlasts rivals, silences doubt, and builds an authority that does not depend on permission, luck, or timing. Power is not always exercised through confrontation. Often, the most effective victories occur without a single battle. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He knew that fear, uncertainty, and perception shape behavior long before force is required. Discipline, when displayed consistently and without explanation, becomes a psychological weapon. It unsettles others because it removes the usual points of leverage. It denies access to your weaknesses and replaces them with silence and structure. Most people attempt to influence others through words, persuasion, or pressure. Discipline bypasses all three. When your actions follow a strict internal code, people realize they cannot negotiate with you. Negotiation requires flexibility. Discipline removes it. Your routine becomes a boundary that does not need enforcement. Others feel it the moment they realize you do not bend for comfort, convenience, or emotion. Machiavelli advised rulers to manage appearances carefully because perception determines obedience. Discipline crafts perception without performance. You do not need to appear strong when your behavior proves it daily. Early mornings, finished work, controlled responses, and selective engagement create a pattern that others notice unconsciously. They begin to assume you are always prepared, always watching, always eed. Whether this is true at every moment does not matter. The belief itself alters how they behave around you. Psychological warfare begins when people cannot predict your reactions. They look for emotional cues, for cracks, for hesitation. Discipline offers none. You do not rush when others panic. You do not celebrate when others expect pride. You do not explain when others demand justification. This absence of reaction creates unease. Humans fear what they cannot read. Uncertainty forces caution. Caution shifts power. Your discipline also broadcasts independence. Machiavelli warned against relying on mercenaries or borrowed strength. The modern equivalent is dependence on validation, approval, or momentum. When people see that your discipline operates regardless of praise or criticism, they understand that you are self-governed. Self-governed individuals are difficult to control. This realization alone is enough to change how others approach you. Discipline as psychological warfare is subtle. It does not seek to intimidate openly. It allows others to intimidate themselves. They compare your consistency to their inconsistency. They measure your calm against their chaos. This comparison creates internal discomfort. People either rise to meet the standard or distance themselves from it. Both outcomes serve your position. Machiavelli taught that it is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. Discipline achieves fear without cruelty. It creates a respect rooted in inevitability. People fear wasting time with you. They fear disappointing you. They fear underestimating you, not because you threaten them, but because your discipline suggests consequences without stating them. When discipline becomes visible, it also becomes contagious. Some will attempt to mirror it, others will resent it. Both reactions reveal influence. Psychological dominance is not about forcing behavior, but about shaping decisions before they are made. When others alter their actions in anticipation of your standards, you have already won. Your discipline also protects you from manipulation. Guilt, urgency, flattery, and provocation fail against a structured mind. You do not act to soothe others' discomfort. You act according to principle. This frustrates those who rely on emotional tactics. Over time, they stop trying. Resistance without conflict drains their energy, not yours. Machiavelli understood that the strongest power is the one rarely used. Discipline functions the same way. You do not need to assert authority when it is already assumed. You do not need to punish when expectations are clear. Your consistency does the work quietly, relentlessly, and without apology. This is why discipline terrifies people. It exposes their lack of control while denying them access to yours. It creates distance, respect, and hesitation all at once. Without raising your voice or declaring intent, you reshape the psychological landscape around you, turning routine into ominence and self-mastery into an unspoken form of war. What you have witnessed is not motivation, and it is not inspiration. It is a blueprint for power that cannot be taken because it is built internally. Discipline is not about becoming impressive in public. It is about becoming unmovable in private. When your actions are governed by structure instead of emotion, by consistency instead of mood, and by principle instead of approval, the world begins to respond differently to you without you ever demanding it. Machiavelli understood that the greatest form of control is self-control. The moment you master yourself, others lose their ability to influence you. They cannot rush you, provoke you, flatter you, or distract you. Your discipline removes their leverage. Your silence unsettles them. Your routine outlasts them. What once seemed like restraint reveals itself as dominance. This level of discipline reshapes identity. You are no longer reacting to circumstances, you are shaping them. You no longer chase respect, it forms around you. You no longer seek power, it becomes a byproduct of your behavior. People begin to sense that you cannot be negotiated with, only observed. They adjust their expectations, their tone, and their strategies accordingly. Becoming so disciplined it scares them is not about intimidation. It is about inevitability. It is about being the one who remains when others fade, who stays calm when others fracture, and who moves forward when others hesitate. Discipline makes you predictable in execution and unreadable in intention. That combination has ruled courts, empires, and minds throughout history. This is the quiet truth Machiavelli left behind. Power does not need to be announced, it needs to be maintained. When discipline becomes your nature, fear is no longer something you inspire intentionally. It is something others feel naturally, because they recognize in you what they lack control over in themselves.